Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Recha Kodesh. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Genesis, the 25th chapter. Then again, Abraham took a wife, and her name was Keturah. And she bare him Zimran, and Jokshan, and Medan, and Midian, and Ishbak, and Shua. And Jokshan begat Sheba and Dedan. And the sons of Dedan were Ashurim, and Letushim, and Leumim. And the sons of Midian, Ephah, and Epher, and Hanok, and Abida, and Eldah. All these were the children of Keturah. And Abraham gave all that he had unto Isaac. So that's basically all his riches and his possession. It all went first to Isaac. But unto the sons of the concubines, which Abraham had, Abraham gave gifts. So that is of Keturah and of Hagar and so on. And sent them away from Isaac his son, while he yet lived, eastward onto the east country, because he wanted to make sure that after his departure, things would be properly set up for Isaac. No conflict, no troubles, no nothing. So he he blessed Isaac with the inheritance. He gave his other sons blessings, gifts, and then had them go their way. And these are the days of the years of Abraham's life, which he lived 100 threescore and 15 years, and that's 175 years, right? Threescore is 60, 60 plus 15 is 75. Then Abraham gave up the ghost and died in a good old age. And when it says that, right, he gave up the ghost. Basically, this once you die, your spirit leaves your body, right? So as it says here, he died in a good old age, an old man, and full of years, and was gathered to his people, meaning he joined his forefathers and so on, because he was dead now. And the Lord told him that, right, that he would die in a nice good old age. And his sons Isaac and Ishmael buried him in the cave of Machpelah, in the field of Ephron, the son of Zohar the Hittite, which is before Mamre. The field which Abraham purchased of the sons of Heth, there was Abraham buried, and Sarah his wife. And it came to pass after the death of Abraham, that God blessed his son Isaac, and Isaac dwelt by the well Lahairoi. Now these are the generations of Ishmael, Abraham's son, whom Hagar the Egyptian, Sarah's handmaid, bare unto Abraham. And these are the names of the sons of Ishmael, by their names, according to their generations. The firstborn of Ishmael, Nebajoth, and Kedar, and Adbeel, and Mibsam, and Mishma, and Duma, and Massa, Hadar, and Tema, and Jetur, Naphish, and Kedemah. These are the sons of Ishmael, and these are their names, by their towns, and by their castles, 12 princes according to their nations. And these princes are like patriarchs, right? Or men of who the different tribes of Ishmael would come from. And these are the years of the life of Ishmael, 137 years, and he gave up the ghost and died, and was gathered unto his people. And they dwelt from Havilah unto Shur, that is, before Egypt, as thou goest toward Assyria, and he died in the presence of all his brethren. And I looked this up here, and this is like a rough sort of map here of the tribes of the Ishmaelites. And you see they have question marks because they're not exact, they're like approximations. But when you look at this region here, this is where Israel is. All right, and this is where Edom eventually would dwell. So as you go more south, you have here getting towards that wilderness of Paran, getting towards Egypt. All right, they also had that territory, and then also as you come down to Havilah, all right, in this desert, this Arabian desert over here, and the eastern borders as you get closer and closer to Assyria, which is over in this region. verse 19. And these are the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham begat Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel, the Syrian of Padan Aram. And the Syrian here meaning because he dwelt in Syria, the sister of Laban the Syrian. And Isaac entreated the Lord Yahweh for his wife because she was barren. So he basically prayed to the Lord to open up her womb. And the Lord was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived. And the children struggled together within her. And she said, if it be so, why am I thus? So she was wondering why, why is this struggling going on between her? And she went to inquire of the Lord. And the Lord said unto her, two nations are in thy womb, and two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. Now, usually what ends up happening is if you are of the same seed, right, of the same father, then you would be of the same nation, right? However, this is still in early times, and the establishing of the different nations that we would see come about later on is still in the process, right? So what the Lord had happened here is, though they both came from Isaac, there was a separation, and you actually had two types of spirits that came from him, and that's why the Lord mentioned these will be two nations, separate nations of people. That hence those of Jacob and those of Esau. That's why the Edomites are a separate nation and the Israelites are a separate nation. In fact, it's not really that uncommon because of Abraham, the same thing happened. He was one man, but you had the Ishmaelites, which are a separate nation that came from him, Edomites, or ultimately through Isaac, and so on and so forth, right? And even going back to Noah, of who one man of whom came three sons, of whom came all the different nations of people. So as it says here, and two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And that's why Israel and Edom are different, right? Their spirits, their mannerism is completely different. And the one people shall be stronger than the other, and the stronger were the descendants of Jacob versus the descendants of Esau. And the elder shall serve the younger, and the elder was Esau. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. So when it came time of her birth, they found out that she had twins. And well, I mean, they kind of knew before, right? Because the Lord mentioned already, but they, they basically saw that they were actually twins. And the first came out red all over like an hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. And they made a point to mention this or emphasize this because he looked different. All right, and you'll see in verse 26 when it comes to Jacob, it doesn't describe his physical appearance because he looked normal. And the thing with Esau is the coming out red, meaning that his skin was different, right? Now, yes, babies when they come out, they are a little lighter, but Esau's was it had to have stood out to the point where they had to mention it. And that's why when you see like the Edomites, the generic appearance of Edomites today is they have what looks like very light, skin. Really, they're more pink than they are white. And that's because you can see their blood shows forth more easily through their skin, right, than that of more brown skinned people. Right now, don't get it wrong. If you're brown skin, you can, let's say like you get a smack or a squeeze or something and blood rushes to a certain area, you can still see it turn somewhat red. But with Edomites, it's much more apparent, right? Even when they get upset or they get flustered and blood rushes to their head, or if they're in the sun, you'll see that true, like when a brown skinned person goes into the sun, you'll see they get darker, right? A farmer's tan or whatever, they get very dark. With the Edomites, they get more red. Okay, so that true color shows forth. And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel. So you see here, they didn't describe what his brother looked like because he came out the same complexion and the same as everybody else. And this also goes to show, when you go back to the prior to the flood, remember the Lord had cursed Cain with that, basically stripping him of his melanin. Okay, and that's why we believe that Cain came back. One of the reasons why he came back as Esau, that spirit came back as Esau with that same curse on him. So as it says here, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel. Oh, as which is makes sense, because it was said that they were basically going at it in the womb, right? They were. It says here, and his name was called Jacob, Yaiquab, and Isaac was 80 years old when she bare them. So Isaac was 60 years old when Rebekah bare Jacob and Esau. And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man, dwelling in tents. And when you go into that word plain, it means, Jacob was more like less of the outdoor field. Not that he was weak or he was a pushover, but he was just not. He didn't take an interest in going out and hunting and all that like Esau did. He was more of a chill, calm mannered um, person, right? See, perfect, complete, one who lacks nothing in physical strength, beauty, wholesome, ordinary, quiet sort of person, morally innocent, having integrity. Shit. And so he stayed more, at home, because remember, they dwelt in tents at this point. Um, and Isaac loved Esau because he did eat of his venison, but Rebekah loved Jacob because Esau would always hunt and bring home some nice, prey that he caught, and it would be prepared nicely, and Isaac was loving it. And Jacob sought pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. So there came a point in time where Jacob was making pottage, right, or like stew, and Esau comes from the field, and you can see he's extremely exhausted. And Esau said to Jacob, "Feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint." Therefore was his name called Edom. So this stew, this pottage, that Jacob was making, because when you go into the word pottage, that's really what it is. Um, let's see. Okay, let's look in the verse above and see if they actually have the word there. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, so when you go into the word pottage, it said boiled food, soup, pottage, thin sodden, or boiled. So I mean, well, there you go, right? Soup, stew, something. He was boiling something. So Esau is basically saying, let me give me some of that, because if I don't get something to eat right now, I feel like I'm gonna die. Therefore was his name called Edom, because as it specified, it was of red pottage. And Edom in the Hebrew, Adawan, meaning red, which is different from Adawan, which means Lord. And Jacob said, "Sell me this day thy birthright." So Jacob, as his name was went into supplanting mode. Oh, you want some of this to eat? Cool. Sell me your birthright. Because remember, Esau was the firstborn. But really, in the spirit, the birthright belonged to Jacob. And Esau said, "Behold, I am at the point to die. And what profit shall this birthright do to me? So what good is this birthright if I'm dead?" And Jacob said, "Swear to me this day." And he swore unto him. And he sold his birthright unto Jacob. So he basically swore, all right, fine, it's yours, you can have it. And maybe Esau took that lightly, but the Most High didn't. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils. So now we know what the pottage was about. Um, and he did eat and drink and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. Basically, when you go into the word despise, it's like he thought it worthless. He thought nothing of it. And lentils, when you look into lentils, they're really like let's pull it up here. Okay. Wow, lentils are lentil. Well, ain't that helpful? Lentils. Food. Lentils, fine. Yeah, it says here lentils are a nutritious, edible, lens-shaped seed from the legume family, or Paul's subgroup. They are a staple in global cuisine, particularly across South Asia and Mediterranean and West Asia. Let's see if we can get some images on that. Yeah, so something like that. Okay, some low something like that. And that looks red, right? That looks red, you know. So anyway, Jacob used his bargaining skills and his supplanting skills, and he was able to get that birthright. And that brings us to the end of the book of Genesis, the 25th chapter. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha, Kodash. And until next time, Shalom.